In today's episode of the Canadian Money Roadmap podcast, we are going to take you on the first step on your journey on building your own retirement roadmap. I'll be sharing insights about getting your finances ready for this big life event and the importance of organization in particular. Plus, I'll recount some of my personal experiences from our camping trips this summer to highlight why having a proper plan is crucial. So stick around, because I'll also walk you through a fantastic tool that my colleague Jordan built to help you stay organized and keep everything in order. From listing your investment accounts to making sure you have all your insurance details in order, this tool is designed to set you up for success. So trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Let's get started. All right, welcome back. What did you think of the new intro music? If you're new to the podcast, this isn't new to you, obviously, but I've had the same intro format and music for the last 4 years, and I thought it'd be time for a little switch up. Let me know what you think. So on today's episode, we are getting back into the normal swing of the podcast, and we're going in a slightly more specific direction going forward. I'm going to be talking more so about things related to retirement planning in particular and how to get your finances ready for that big life event. So in the first episode of this series, I'm going to be talking about the biggest thing that I see when people are getting ready to retire, or they're thinking about quitting their job, or they're just thinking about that next step. This is the biggest thing that's almost always missing from their planning. So let me show you what I mean a little bit. So this summer, my wife and our kids, we were fortunate enough to be able to go on a few camping trips. And we have a small trailer. It's a 18-foot Winnebago. It's called a Micro Mini. And we pulled that across Western Canada here. We went to Jasper, luckily before the fires came. And then we went to Banff, and then up north in northern Saskatchewan to our one of our national parks called Prince Albert National Park, to a place called Waskesiu, and we really like camping up there. But before we go anywhere with our trailer, we've got a list of things that we need to bring, and on the days leading up to the trip, we try to get everything ready to go because you can't just jump in and take off. There are so many things that you need to plan for. We've got kids who are now 4 and 2, and so they need a lot of things that are unique to their sleeping arrangements and food preferences and all that kind of stuff. And so some of these things, they're kind of more last minute that you kind of have to do like right at the end, like put the food in the fridge, and other things you should probably do a little bit more in advance. Like what I did in April was just buy a new truck because our previous one, we had some issues with the transmission overheating, and I was too stressed to pull the trailer through the mountains with a vehicle that didn't have enough towing capacity. So anyways, we had to plan long in advance for this year's camping trip to be able to tow the trailer and go to the places that we wanted to go. So some of the things on our list, so my wife keeps this list, and it's kind of an ongoing list, just in her phone. It's a template that she uses. Some things are constantly checked off because we leave them in the trailer. So things like baby monitors, hand soap, paper plates, all that kind of stuff, but they're memory triggers. So we keep them on the list so that we can confirm that they are there, even though we never take certain things out of the trailer in fall. They're just memory triggers for us to go in and say, do we actually have enough paper plates? Currently, this was a situation where I did not consult the list, and I thought we did have enough paper plates, and we did not. So anyways, that's another thing. But this simple step of just organizing what we have and what you need to get is critical for our enjoyment when we go on a camping trip. It just takes all of the pressure off of trying to remember where everything is and the things that we finished off in the previous year that we haven't restocked yet, or anything like that. It just gets everything out of our heads and onto a list, so we don't have to worry about that, and we can just kind of go through the process of ticking off the list and doing the task, and then we can go have fun. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't sometimes forget things like the diaper bag when we get to a small town in the middle of nowhere, Alberta. That thing wasn't on the list. So anyways, that's another story for another time. So organization is key, and that's going to be the topic of this episode if you haven't figured that out yet. If you don't get organized with your finances, you're going to forget things. You're going to second guess yourself. Your spouse is going to feel left out if you if you don't incorporate both of you into your financial dealings at all. And I've heard this from many people, so this isn't just personal experience or anything like that. I see it all the time. I met with somebody this week where this was exactly the case. And if you're the money person in the household and you pass away and you haven't left any sort of organizational process for your finances, your family that's left behind is going to be dealing with a nightmare, and you don't want to have that. So before you can even think about doing the fun stuff of retirement, like, I don't know, you might not be someone that thinks these are fun things, but a lot of people do. The investing side of things and figuring out, tax efficient strategies. And as I'm saying this out loud, I realize how few people probably do think that's fun. But those are kind of like the action items when people think about retirement planning. Coming up with income strategies, investment portfolios, all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit more interesting. But if you don't know where your stuff is and how much of it you have, who to contact, anything like that, it's just a waste of time. So you need to start at the very beginning here. So you want to retire, but there's so many of these things that you need to have in place. First, you need to figure out where all your investment accounts are. Many people have investment accounts, say with an advisor or at the bank or at a DIY service or a combination of all the above or more. You might have insurance. You might have multiple insurance policies. You might have one through work. You might have one that you've owned. You might have one that your parents bought for you decades ago. I hope you have a will, a power of attorney. If you don't, those are critical things to get right in the early stages as well. That might be part of the topic for the next episode. But even professional contacts. So like, who would you contact about your will if someone were to pass away? Who would you contact about your life insurance? Who would you contact if you have a question about your investment portfolio? All these different things, even just more regular things like your home insurance or things like that. Do you have a person that you go to for that? You might know this person, your spouse might not. Time to get organized, get it down on paper. Before you move forward, you just simply need to organize what you have. So, things like your investment accounts, they're going to change all the time. And so that's why people are often most aware of those types of things. So, the market moves every single day, and you might be making a regular RSP contribution or regular TFSA contributions, things like that. Your pension, if you have a pension at work, you'll probably get a statement every year, and it's a little bit different. You got a raise, all these kind of things. Those are things that are easy enough to stay on top of, even just passively. But things like your life insurance probably won't change that often. Things like your disability insurance probably won't change that often. You probably aren't getting your will updated often enough, but maybe not at all. That doesn't mean they aren't important, but it does mean that they are easier to forget about. So getting organized is a process that will gather everything and put it into one place where at least you can find it and you can share it with your spouse and your family members so that everybody can be literally on the same page in regards to where things are. And then you can figure out where you want to go from there. So to help with this initial step, my colleague Jordan, if you're lucky, you might even be able to spot him through the window on the other side of the door here. He created this awesome spreadsheet. We just call it your full financial picture, and I'm going to walk you through it in this episode. If you are just listening to the audio podcast right now, you can hop over to YouTube and watch me use the spreadsheet in real time. Now, if you would like to use this spreadsheet or my system that I like to use for yourself, you can purchase my spreadsheet with the link in the show notes, or you can make your own absolutely for free. You can do this on paper if you want. It doesn't have to be a spreadsheet online if that's not something that you really enjoy doing or have the skills to do. That's totally fine. The goal is to get organized, not to use a specific system necessarily. I just have one that's pretty good. And if you don't want to buy mine or you can't afford the few bucks, just watch the video and recreate it yourself. Totally fine. Okay, let's hop over to the spreadsheet and we will check out what that looks like to get yourself financially organized. Okay, here we are on the first page of the full financial picture spreadsheet. And here you can obviously put in your name and you can put in the month, day, and year. The way that I like to use this is that every year I update this and I just duplicate it in my files, and that way I can kind of compare it to previous years and I can see how things have changed over time. That's probably the easiest way to do it. You just duplicate it, change the date, and then just make your updates in the new one. And then I would just change the file name to full financial picture September 2024. Perfect. And then next year, September 2025, or however often you like to do that. So it's all these different tabs at the top that will be places where you can put information, and some of it is great for summarizing what you've already put in. And so depends on how you like to do that. If you want your summary tab afterwards, you can click and kind of drag it around. That's totally fine. Maybe I'll just put this at the end for now so we can kind of see that, but let's get into it. So financial accounts, these are the ones that you're probably most familiar with. I'm not going to put everything in here, but I'll just kind of quickly blast through a few things so you can kind of see. So over on this side, over here on this account column, over here, there's a drop-down menu for every type of account that you could have. Perfect. Let's start with a checking account. And this automatically gets labeled as a cash account. You'll see the differences as we kind of go along here. You can put in the owner. So this could be me. Perfect. You can put whatever you want in there. You could say me, you could say spouse, you could do whatever. This is just for you. This is your system, and you can use it however you want. Institution, you could say like, okay, I bank at TD. Perfect. I wouldn't recommend putting account numbers in here. This is, again, just general organization, not a list of how somebody could hack all of your finances. Don't put account numbers in here, but you can say I've got $5,000 in my checking account. Perfect. If I have a beneficiary for this plan or something like that, I can put that in there. Let's do that. Say I've got a TFSA next. TFSA, we say that that's an invested account. Hopefully it is. We recommend using your TFSA as more like a TFRA, the tax-free retirement account. And that way you can invest the money inside the tax-free savings account and save the taxes on the growth. Another episode for another day. If that's mine again, I can drag that down. Institutions, say, for example, this might be, I don't know, perhaps I have it at Wealth Simple. I can put that in there and say I've got 50,000 there. Great. Oops, that's a little aggressive. 500,000, probably not. Okay, cool. Now I could say I have an RSP and say this is my wife. Her name is Becky. I'm going to put that in there and say this is with our firm here at Sterling, and say she also has 50,000 there. In this case, we could do like beneficiaries. I could list Becky here. She could have me. This is a great opportunity to say, oh, I don't know who my beneficiary is of these accounts. Perfect. Call that an action item. You can go back then and figure it out. But this is a place where you can just list everything that you have. And it just kind of keeps track of where everything is and who's attached to it and some critical numbers, that kind of thing. Down here at the bottom, we've got your investment accounts, so your TFSAs and RSPs in particular. You can list these for each of yourself and your spouse, maybe your kids if you're really involved with your adult kids, whatever you want to do, totally fine. You can list that in here. So say your TFSA, say this is mine. Sorry, I keep dropping pens all over the place. You might be hearing that on the mic. I can put in my contribution room in here that I have left. Say I've got 30,000 of contribution room. What date was that calculated? Because that matters, because your room will change based on your contributions, your withdrawals, and new room that you get every year. If you have no clue, we've got handy links that you can click on right here, and you can click on that and you can be directed towards the place to figure out what your contribution room might be. Let's move on to the Assets tab. I pre-filled this just to go a little bit quicker. So you can add these in here. Again, these are drop downs that Jordan very generously added in here. Tons of different things. I put in some really common ones. So principal residence, maybe that's jargon, but that's your house. So say, for example, your house is worth, say, 700,000. Your car might be worth 35,000. Whoops, I'm blowing up. There we go. And an RV might be worth 20,000. Cool. Adjusted cost base, that is more relevant for situations where you might be subject to capital gains tax. So if you have like a rental property or so like secondary residence could be listed in there, shares in a private corporation, those things might be valuable to keep track of your cost base. Again, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but that's something that you can list right here in the spreadsheet. Personal items. So say I have things like camera gear. I used to be a wedding photographer and I had some really expensive camera gear, and let's say that that is worth $15,000. Great. We don't have a lot of jewelry or paintings, but some people do. Let's put that in there. Let's say that's worth $10,000. Doesn't really matter, but it's worth popping in there. Let's go to the other side of the balance sheet and talk about liabilities. This is debt. Liabilities is the fancy word for it. Again, on every page, there's just a little how to use section. Just read that. It's a pretty good overview of how to use each section. And so long-term liabilities, so these are going to be things that they should take longer than a year to pay off. So here's your mortgage. You can put what institution that's with. Maybe you have your mortgage with RBC, sure. And maybe your rate is 4%. And maybe you're, oh boy, almost doing math on the fly here. Let's just call it $2,500 and say you've got $500,000 left. Okay, good enough. Look this up and put in your numbers as opposed to just simply guessing. I'm just doing this quickly for the sake of an example. But this is really valuable because I've spoken with a number of people recently who have no clue what their debt costs, and they were paying off tax-deductible low-interest debt before they were paying off high-interest non-tax deductible debt. And so I've had the opportunity of saving people thousands of dollars in seconds by saying, okay, don't do that. Pay this one off first, and you'll save thousands of dollars this year in interest. The only way you know that is if you can figure out what your monthly payments are, or like your minimum payments, and what your interest rates are on those debts. Having an idea of how much you owe is pretty critical as well. So this one is really valuable for optimizing your financial life in particular. If you have a lot of debts, if you don't have a lot of debts and you got nothing on this page, great, your life is a lot easier, but the average person is going to have a couple here. If you've got a line of credit, maybe you've got a line of credit, say with Tangerine Bank. I'm just trying not to pick favorite cereals all over the place. Maybe this one is closer to, say, a 7% annual rate. Your payment is $200. You've got 20 grand there. Sure. All sorts of different things that you can list on here, different loans. You can put other, whatever you want. The drop downs are really handy. They just make things a whole lot easier. So now that we've put some stuff into the accounts section, into the assets section, into the liabilities section, now we have a decent idea of what our net worth might be in this case. And so this summarizes it quite nicely. So on the account summary, all those different types of accounts, we had cash, savings, and invested money, and we have $105,000 there. Then on the net worth side of things, we break things down on your assets and liabilities between your fixed assets, your liquid assets, personal items, long-term liabilities, short-term liabilities. It's a pretty cool breakdown, and it's pretty simple to use. As you saw in this case, my hypothetical example, I've got a net worth of $365,000. Cool. When I run this number next year, a goal might be to increase that number. Maybe my goal might be to increase my liquid assets. Maybe that would be to pay down my short-term liabilities. All these different things. You can really create some nice financial goals just by taking a look at this quick net worth and account summary section. that's kind of it for the numbers side of things that kind of work together. But part of getting organized is having a good idea of all these other things. So now on the family side of things, you can just have things listed in here. This might seem a little bit silly to list your spouses and whatnot. Sometimes people forget dates of birth, even employers, all these different things. I know for you that might not be ridiculous, but we have this in there. Maybe if somebody that you trust is helping you with your finances, having this listed in there because they don't probably have all this stuff memorized. Anyways, you can use it or not. It's all here. Same thing with kids. You can put some more information in here if you want. If you want to add to these spreadsheets, these individual sections as well, you can just click the next button and you can add whatever you want in there. That's totally fine. Make it your own. The professional advisors section might be a good place for your spouse that may not be involved in the day-to-day finances as much as you might be. And so you could list your banking advisor, investment advisor, financial planning advisor, life insurance, property insurance, accountant, lawyer, anything else. In many cases, this person might be the same person. So for example, I'm a financial planner, investment advisor, and in the past I did life insurance as well. So for some people, I might have been all three of these people. But at least putting some names in here with their phone numbers and email addresses, that way you know very quickly how to track these people down if you have questions, concerns, or need to make any changes. On the insurance section, this is where things can get quite complicated. It's best to just put in the high-level stuff at least first, and then the next time you go to update it, just add a little bit more information if this is something that's overwhelming. If you like doing this kind of thing, great. We've got tons of space for you here. Let's start with life insurance policies. So here, again, great drop-down menu. Term policy is very, very common. You could put in your description, who's the policy owner, who's the insured life, meaning if somebody, who's the person that dies, that would pay out the insurance policy. So if I have the policy on my life, if I die, my wife would get paid. So in this case, I would be the owner, I would be the life insured, and Becky is the beneficiary. Policy effective date, you can put that in there. Death benefits, say we've got $1 million there. Annual premium, no clue what the hypotheticals would be here. Cash value, this would just be for whole life or universal life. Adjusted cost base, that is for those types of policies as well. Don't worry about that as much as just say, okay, what type of insurance do you have? And in the description, this is where you could probably put in the insurance company. So say like Empire Life or Canada Life or Manulife, Sun Life, all these different big Canadian insurance companies. You can put all those in there so at least you have an idea of where to find this information if you need to review it, change it, or act on it. Disability insurance policies, same kind of thing here. We've got group policies. So if you have a plan through your work, that you can put the details in here. If you own your individual policy, you can put that detail in there. That's great. If you don't know if it's taxable to you or not, this is again where you can start asking questions. Waiting period, benefit period, annual premium, policy type, all these kind of things. If you don't know it, that's good because now you know that you don't know it. We're going to try to minimize the unknown unknowns here. By using the spreadsheet, now you might have a few known unknowns, meaning you know what you don't know. That can be a little bit overwhelming, but the head in the sand approach of the unknown unknowns is not a good place where you want to be. Property insurance policies, health insurance, critical illness, long-term care, other insurance policies. You might have some of these, you might not. We've got a place for it, and you can just keep track of everything here. Now, the estate planning overview, this is a checklist, and we're not asking for all the details. I don't know if you need to list all the details of each of these in this section, but do you have a will? Call it a last will and testament. Is that complete? Yep. Do you have a power of attorney? Yep. Yep. Do you have life insurance? Yep. Do you have funeral wishes? No, I don't. Organ donation? I am. Yep. So the one thing that I would need to look into in this case would be maybe some funeral wishes. I hope that my age and health means that that's over planning a little bit. But if you're in a stage of life where that is more top of mind for you, great idea to start thinking about those kind of things as well. So years since your last review, we did this when we had our daughter. So that was in 2020. So that was 4 years ago. Might be time to start looking at that again. Since we've had another kid and we've moved and a few things have changed business-wise, that might be a good time to take a look at the will and make sure that everything is in line with what we want and who we've picked as the guardian of our kids if we were to pass away, things like that. Executor, power of attorney, list their names in there. That is going to be helpful. What the relationship is. You can add any notes that you want in here. You can make this, again, as simple or as complicated as you want, but I think we've got a place for nearly anything that you would want in terms of organizing your financial life all in one place here on the spreadsheet. So like I said, as you're going through the organization process, now that you've kind of seen a number of the things that it would probably be good to have on hand or just know in general, now you'll know the things that you don't have yet, or the things that you should probably get an idea on. And so your next step would be to fill in some more of those gaps wherever you can. And now that you've kind of taken a look at your professional contacts and all the different institutions where your money and insurance might be, now you kind of know what direction to go just to fill in the gaps as far as who to ask, what numbers you can call, and things like that. So on the next episode in this series, we are going to continue on our retirement roadmap series, and then we're going to look at the foundational items that you need to have in place if you want to retire at all, and specifically retire with confidence and as fast as possible based on your financial situation. So with that, I'll thank you for watching and listening to this episode, and we will see you on the next episode of the Canadian Money Roadmap podcast.